Welcome back to the R&D podcast. My name's Dalton.
RJ.
Today we're going to be talking about the Auburn Recap and Prediction. Auburn plays South Alabama at home for homecoming. RJ, what do you think about that game?
Offensive-wise, look kind of bland. I think we don't want to show too much to Oklahoma. But defensive-wise, secondary is kind of scary going against this Oklahoma team this week. DJ Durkin needs to get out of man. He needs to start playing some zone. He still can play man, but show Mateer different schemes, different looks. And I feel like our defense to play well. But if we stay in man the whole game, John Mateer is going to tear us apart.
Yeah, so South Alabama kind of hung around with Auburn. Auburn had control of the game completely through and through. And like you said, they called a basic game plan just to kind of get through the week. Knew they had the athletes to be able to win the game, no doubt. But going ahead to Oklahoma, you don't have the athletes just to solely win this game. It's going to come down a lot to game plan. It's going to come down a lot to making it to where John Mateer has to get off balance, has to get outside the pocket, has to make these throws. And mechanically, John Mateer he's clean until he isn't. Like he overthrows a lot to the right. He drops a lot. And he misses a lot of throws that he probably could make. You saw him in the first two games of the season. He forced the ball a lot. Against Michigan, he forced the ball. And so Auburn, speaking on your behalf, I know you've said that Auburn needs to make John Mateer force the ball, force it in the tight windows. But Auburn's secondary has been the biggest weakness for them so far throughout this year. You saw it against Baylor. Sawyer Robertson throws for 400 yards. You saw, South Alabama, they had their way with them a little bit. Every now and then they had some wide open passes that you don't expect an Auburn defense to give up. So what do you think Auburn's defense is going to change going this week, maybe with their secondary, to be able to recoup, to fight back against John Mateer?
Well, DJ Durkin is going to do him. But to contain John Mateer, we're going to have to play a lot of zone blitz. Bring pressure to him, make him force that ball, and hopefully he forces the ball away into an interception or incompletion. Because this John Mateer is probably a number one Heisman candidate right now, and he's kind of hard to stop. Like you said, he throws it over the head a little bit and to the right. So if Auburn's defensive line starts with the defensive line first, if Auburn can bring pressure to John Mateer, make him force that ball into Auburn's hands or incompletion, I feel like Auburn can do a really good job on defense-wise.
Auburn on offense, the thing that scares me with them is you haven't really seen them prove themselves over the air. Now, have they had the opportunity? Not really. But you still haven't seen Jackson Arnold really establish himself as a great passer. You've seen him make these intermediate throws. You've seen him throw one-on-one balls to Cam Coleman. But he hasn't done it consistently and at a high rate. So whenever you go and you face a defense like Oklahoma who has good – I mean, they're good around them. They return 70% production on defense. Defensive line is one of the better, probably top 20 in the country, top 15 in the country. So Jackson Arnold's going to have his hands full with his defense, and you're going to have a really good game plan coming into this game. If you're Hugh Freeze, you know what you have, you know what you don't. But the two receivers or really three receivers, I guess, with the ratio of Fields, but Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton, they're difference makers. Eric Singleton, you get the ball out in his hands, he can make a couple people miss. He can make explosive plays. And Cam Coleman's your one-on-one jump ball guy who can also run routes like one of the best receivers in the country. So as far as Auburn goes, getting those two established and getting the ball in their hands and letting them make plays is going to be the best bet, because I don't know if they're going to be able to run the ball efficiently unless you do use Jackson Arnold's legs. But how many hits can he take?
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think Oklahoma will come out too high like everyone's been doing to Auburn because their wide receiver core is so good?
I don't know if you'll see it. Maybe they may. I think they'll switch up a lot of looks. I think you'll get a lot of too high. I think you'll get a lot of cover two man. I think you'll get a lot of quarters. And then I think they'll drop into cover one hole a lot too, just to be able to keep everything underneath. And you still have your over-the-top blanket. I think you'll shade a lot to Cam Coleman's side. But as far as do I think that they'll just try to limit the pass? No, because Auburn's such a good run team. And you just had Michigan that really stayed in the game because they could run the ball. Justice Haynes went for 2 touchdowns and 145 yards or something like that. Yeah. So I think they're going to have to stop the run because Jackson Arnold can run the ball. Jeremiah Cobb's explosive. Damari Alston.
We should have him back.
Yeah, so you should have him back. And so you should have the pieces in the Auburn backfield to make Oklahoma have to respect your run game, because that's how you get those players involved on the outside, is by making them have to load the box.
If Oklahoma doesn't play high, and the way Jackson Arnold's been throwing good passes lately, we dropped a lot against the South Alabama game. But if he keeps on throwing those passes he's been throwing deep downfield, I feel like Jackson Arnold could beat him downfield if they respect the run more, if Oklahoma respects the run more. So
that's kind of goes into what I was saying about getting the two receivers established and using a run game to do that. But Oklahoma side of things, this Auburn defense, you know what their weaknesses are. You know John Mateer can throw the ball. He has the capability to be able to win the game with his arm. So this is going to be a tough matchup for Auburn in Norman. This is Jackson Arnold's return game. There's a lot that goes into this one. But at the end of the day, if Auburn can establish themselves on the line of scrimmage to start the game, you know Keldrick Faulk's going to get double-teamed a lot. But if he can be a factor, if he can open up other guys on that defensive line and be a factor and get pressure on John Mateer and make him uncomfortable, is this the best team that John Mateer's faced? Possibly, right? Michigan, Auburn, they're kind of a throw-up. You don't really know about this. You don't really know exactly how good this Michigan team is because they're still young. And Auburn's still getting things put together as well. But Auburn looks really, really good right now. And you go into Norman, SEC matchup, first SEC game for both teams. Auburn's got a chance to go make big waves throughout college football in this one game in Norman. And all they have to do is go out there and establish themselves and dominate on the line of scrimmage, make John Mateer uncomfortable, make him force throws, turn the ball over. And Jackson Arnold needs to do the exact opposite of that. He needs to be not conservative necessarily, but you can't make mistakes because Oklahoma can capitalize. And Auburn can establish the run with his legs as well, and which John Mateer is a great runner of the football as well. But you've seen Auburn actually lean in to Jackson Arnold's legs a little bit more than Oklahoma necessarily has, which I want to say that John Mateer is still the second leading rusher for Oklahoma. But another thing is that I'm curious to see is, does Oklahoma use Jay Knott more, the Cal transfer who's really good? Does Oklahoma –
he hasn't been nowhere this season.
Yeah, if he's back, do they use him more? That could be a good – a big part of the game. But all in all, we'll get into score predictions in just a second. But Auburn has a chance to go establish themselves in college football for this year if they get this win in Norman, Jackson Arnold's return game, and a lot of great possibilities after this game for Auburn, because you have a hard schedule after this. You go to Texas A&M. You have a bye week, and then you have Georgia at home.
Right.
I mean, you have 3 hard, tough games in a row right here. And you just saw Georgia go into a shootout with Tennessee and come out victorious, which they shouldn't have more than likely, but they did. They found a way to win. That's what college football is about. You see Texas A&M, they found a way to win against Notre Dame. That's what college football is about. So can this Auburn team find a way to win against Oklahoma in Norman?
I want to say they can, but since it's at Oklahoma, I'm going to have to go with if I want to win money without being biased to Auburn because I'm an Auburn fan, I'm going to go with Oklahoma at Oklahoma. I'm going to go 27-24 Oklahoma.
Ooh.
I hate to say it. I'm a big Auburn fan. I'm a pretty biased too, but if I want to win money to help y'all out, I'm going with Oklahoma.
So, I've had a couple of changes in this game. I thought a lot about it just because Auburn has looked so good, With that being said, right? But with that being said, right?
Are you guys going to Auburn?
You know what I'm saying? With that being said, I think Auburn has the potential to go in here and make big waves, like I've said a couple times now. Hugh Freeze, he kind of felt going this year that his job may be getting close to being over. And there's a lot of things that can swing in this game. And there's a lot of talent-wise for Auburn that has the potential to be game changers. But after all of that and hyping up everything, give me Oklahoma at Oklahoma, 31-24. John Mateer shows out. He shows why he's going to be in the Heisman talks at the end of the year. And Auburn plays a heck of a game, but just can't come victorious. Now, going into Texas A&M next week, Auburn may get one back. But even though that's at Cal Field, that'll be a hard one. We'll talk about that when we get there. But I got Oklahoma 31-24. It's going to be a great game. And I hope Auburn wins. I'm not an Auburn hater, but just looking at it from an outside point, Oklahoma, I think, has a better win over Michigan. than Auburn over Baylor, even though Baylor's a great team. But with that being said, is there anything else you want to throw in?
I hope we win. I hope we win. We need this win, honestly. So I'm praying. I'll be praying every week, every day this week. So,
well, roll freeze, baby, roll freeze. Anyways, this has been the R&D podcast. My name is Dalton.